A black man working 3 minimum wage jobs, raising a kid alone in that neighborhood? You're barely surviving, Mr. Owens. That's not parenting. White attorney Diane Crawford tore Samuel Owens's custody papers in half. The pages fell across the courthouse marble. Samuel, 38, black single father, watched his daughter Maya cry 10 feet away. 3 nights earlier, he'd been a hero. Interstate 95, midnight, pouring rain. Samuel spotted a stranded Mercedes, white woman in designer suit, blown tire, dead phone, terrified in the dangerous area. Every car passed by. Samuel stopped, changed her tire in the freezing downpour, ruining his good clothes. She offered cash. He refused. "Just help the next person, ma'am." He left before she could ask his name. That woman was Judge Eleanor Whitmore. Monday, she'd walk into court as the judge deciding Samuel's custody case. He'd saved her life on a rainy night. She'd decide his future. Neither knew they'd already met. Saturday morning, 6:15 a.m. Samuel's alarm screamed. He slapped it silent, staring at the water-stained ceiling of his one-bedroom apartment. 2 hours of sleep. His body ached from the warehouse shift, the delivery route, the custodian work. 3 jobs. 85 hours this week. All for Maya. He pulled himself up, walked to the corner where Maya's room waited. Perfectly made bed, stuffed animals arranged by size, a small desk with crayons organized by color. Everything ready for the daughter who hadn't slept here in 6 months. Photos covered the walls. Maya as a baby. Maya's first birthday. Maya and her mother, Sarah, at the beach 3 years ago, back when life made sense. Sarah. Gone 18 months now. Car accident on a Tuesday. Samuel still couldn't drive past that intersection. After the funeral, he'd fallen apart. Missed work. Stopped eating. Stopped caring. Social workers found Maya staying with neighbors while Samuel sat in the dark. They took her. "Unstable home environment," the report said. They weren't wrong. Not then. But that was 6 months ago. Samuel showered in the cramped bathroom, scrubbing warehouse dust from under his fingernails. He dressed carefully. His only decent shirt pressed last night at the laundromat. Today was visitation day. 2 hours with Maya. 2 hours to show her daddy was still fighting. Community center. 9 o'clock a.m. Maya burst through the door and ran to him. "Daddy!" Samuel caught her, lifting her high. 8 years old, 62 pounds, all joy and light. His whole world in pink sneakers. "Hey, baby girl, you grow another inch this week?" "Maybe," Maya giggled. "Ms. Linda says I'm tall for my age." Ms. Linda, the foster mother. Samuel's smile tightened. "That's good, baby. You hungry? I brought your favorite." They sat at the community center's plastic table, grilled cheese sandwiches he'd made that morning, cut into triangles the way Maya liked. Patricia Hendricks, the social worker, watched from across the room. Always watching, always documenting. "Daddy, when can I come home?" Maya asked between bites. Samuel's throat closed. "Soon, baby. Monday's the big day. The judge is going to see how hard Daddy's been working." "Will I get to tell the judge I want to live with you?" "Maybe, if they ask." "I'll tell them anyway." Maya's little chin lifted with determination that reminded Samuel of Sarah. Ms. Hendricks approached. "Mr. Owens, can I speak with you?" Samuel walked to the corner. Patricia's face was kind but tired. 15 years of social work had taught her to care without hoping too much. "Samuel, I've submitted my reports. You've been exemplary, perfect attendance, all requirements met. But I need to be honest with you." "What is it?" "Diane Crawford is aggressive. She's going to argue that your financial situation is unstable. That 3 jobs means you can't provide adequate supervision. That Maya deserves a 2-parent home with savings and security. I've done everything they asked. I know. And I've documented it. But Judge Whitmore... Patricia hesitated. She's fair, but she's strict. She prioritizes stability over sentiment. You need to be prepared for tough questions. Samuel looked back at Maya, coloring at the table, humming to herself. I can't lose her, Ms. Hendricks. Then Monday, you show that judge exactly who you are, not who you were 18 months ago, who you are now. Saturday night, 11:45 p.m. Samuel sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by papers. Pay stubs from all 3 jobs, rental agreement showing 6 months of on-time payments, certificates from parenting classes, anger management, child development, grief counseling, report cards from Maya's visits. Everyone marked excellent interaction between father and child. His public defender, Gregory Taylor, had called that afternoon. Bring everything Monday. We're building a case that you've rebuilt your life. Diane will attack your finances, your past, your living situation. We need to show transformation. Samuel stared at Maya's drawing on his refrigerator, stick figures holding hands. Me and Daddy, written in careful letters. He'd been broken. Depression had swallowed him whole after Sarah died. But Maya's face, watching them take her away, had jolted something awake. If he gave up, she'd grow up thinking her father didn't fight for her, thinking she wasn't worth fighting for. So he fought. 3 jobs, therapy twice a week, every supervised visit, every requirement, every humiliation. Monday would decide if it was enough. Samuel's phone buzzed. Text from Rose Bennett, Sarah's mother. Praying for you tomorrow. Sarah would be proud of who you've become. Stay strong. He texted back, Thank you, Mama Rose, for Maya. His eyes fell on the case file summary Gregory had given him. Owens v. Child Protective Services. Judge, Honorable Eleanor Whitmore. Samuel stared at the name. Whitmore. It meant nothing to him. He had no idea that 3 nights ago, in the rain, he'd already met the woman who'd decide his fate. 18 months earlier. The memory hit Samuel like a fist every time. Sarah's funeral. Gray October sky. Maya in a black dress too big for her, holding Samuel's hand so tight her little fingers went white. The casket, cherry wood, brass handles, final payment plan Samuel couldn't afford, being lowered into frozen ground. Where's Mommy going, Daddy? Samuel couldn't answer, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. After they buried her, the world became fog. Samuel went through motions without seeing, spoke without hearing. Maya stayed with neighbors, Mrs. Rodriguez next door, then the Williams family down the hall, then anyone who'd take her for a night. Samuel missed 3 days of work, then 5, then a week. His supervisor called. Samuel didn't answer. Eviction notice appeared under his door. Samuel left it there. One morning he woke on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes. Maya was eating cereal at the table, still in pajamas from 2 days ago. She'd gotten herself ready for school. She was 7. Daddy, I'm scared. Of what, baby? You're sad all the time. Are you going to go away like Mommy? That question should have woken him up. It didn't. Not yet. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. Child Protective Services knocked. 2 social workers, 1 police officer. They had reports. Neighbors concerned about Maya's care, school noting missed days and dirty clothes, landlord documenting disturbances. Mr. Owens, we need to assess Maya's living situation. They walked through the apartment. Dishes piled in the sink. Laundry everywhere. Maya's homework undone on the table. Sarah's belongings untouched, like a shrine. Daddy, what's happening? Mr. Owens, we're placing Maya in temporary foster care while you address these concerns. No, you can't. Sir, please step back. Maya screamed, reached for Samuel. A social worker carried her out while she cried, "Daddy! Daddy!" over and over. The door closed. Samuel stood in the empty apartment, drowning. 6 months ago. Rose Bennett, Sarah's mother, Maya's grandmother, found Samuel on the couch at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Unshowered, unemployed, eviction final. She didn't yell. She sat down, looked him in the eye, and spoke with the voice that had raised Sarah. "My daughter didn't raise a quitter." "Mama Rose, I can't. You think Sarah would want Maya growing up thinking her daddy didn't fight for her? You think that baby should believe she wasn't worth fighting for?" Samuel broke. Really broke. Cried like he hadn't since the funeral. Rose held him. "You get one more day to grieve like this. Tomorrow you fight, you hear me? Tomorrow you become the father Sarah knew you could be." Something shifted. The next morning, Samuel woke up at 5 a.m., showered, shaved, made calls. He found a warehouse job starting Monday, found a studio apartment he could barely afford, called CPS and asked what he needed to do to get Maya back. The list was long: stable housing, steady employment, parenting classes, therapy, supervised visitations, psychological evaluation, home inspections, 6 months of compliance. "And then?" Samuel asked. "Then a judge decides if you've done enough." Samuel started climbing. Present day, Saturday afternoon. Samuel stood outside the warehouse where he'd worked for 5 months. His supervisor, Mrs. Sullivan, had written one of his character references. He remembered his first day, how his hands bled from the box cutters, how his back screamed from lifting, how he nearly quit after hour 6 of an 8-hour shift. But he'd thought of Maya, pushed through. Now he worked 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. here. Then delivery driving 3 to 8. Custodian work 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. on weekends. Sleep when he could. Repeat. People called it dedication. Samuel called it survival. State Attorney's Office. Same afternoon. Diane Crawford reviewed the Owens file with her assistant, a young lawyer named Preston. Single black father, 3 low-wage jobs, 1 bedroom in a rough neighborhood, history of depression and job loss, substance use incident 18 months ago. Diane tapped the psychiatrist's report. "This is textbook high risk." "He's met every requirement for 6 months, Preston noted. 6 months versus a stable 2-parent foster home with a teacher and an accountant, savings account, 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. No psychiatric history. Diane closed the file. "The law is clear. Best interest of the child." "Maya Henderson Owens," Preston corrected. "Maya Henderson Owens deserves stability this man cannot provide. 1 car repair, 1 health emergency, 1 missed paycheck, and he's homeless again." Diane stood. "Judge Whitmore is fair, but she's not sentimental. She'll see what I see. A father who loves his daughter but can't protect her from his own instability." "What if he's changed?" Diane smiled coldly. "People don't change, Preston. They just get better at hiding their problems. Monday. I'll make sure the judge sees the truth." Monday morning. Federal Courthouse. Samuel stood on the marble steps at 7:30 a.m., an hour before the hearing. The building loomed. Classical columns, American flags, stone eagles clutching justice scales. This was Power's architecture, designed to make people like Samuel feel small. It worked. His thrift store suit felt thin against the November cold. The tie, borrowed from Gregory, was slightly too short. His shoes were 10 years old, polished until the cracks almost didn't show. Inside, security made him empty his pockets, walk through metal detectors, prove he belonged in a place like this. Lawyers in $1,000 suits breezed past with familiarity. Samuel waited in line with the other people who looked like him. Defendants, witnesses, those on the wrong side of the law's machinery. Gregory Taylor met him at the elevator. White, 32, public defender carrying 60 active cases. Good man, overworked man. "You ready?" "No." "Good. Nervousness reads as honesty. Gregory handed Samuel a folder. Remember, answer only what's asked. Don't volunteer information. Don't get emotional. Diane will try to provoke you. Stay calm. What about the judge? Eleanor Whitmore. 20 years on the bench. Former prosecutor. Reputation for being thorough, impartial, tough on custody cases. She won't be swayed by tears or stories. She wants facts, stability, proof. They rode the elevator to the 5th floor. Family court. The hallway smelled like anxiety and industrial cleaner. Samuel saw them near courtroom 5C. James and Linda Henderson, the foster parents, early 40s, white, dressed like they were going to church. Kind faces. Good people, probably. They'd taken Maya when no one else would. Between them, Maya. She wore a blue dress Samuel had never seen. Her hair was in braids he hadn't done. She looked happy, healthy. "Daddy!" She pulled away from Linda's hand, ran to Samuel. He dropped to his knees, caught her. "Hey, baby girl. Are you taking me home today?" Before Samuel could answer, Patricia Hendricks approached. "Maya, honey, come back here. The hearing hasn't started yet." "But I want to talk to my daddy." "I know, sweetheart. Soon." Patricia gently guided Maya back to the Hendersons. She mouthed to Samuel, "Good luck." Diane Crawford emerged from the courtroom, saw Samuel, and smiled like a shark. "Mr. Owens, ready for today?" Samuel said nothing. "That's wise. Save your words for the judge. You'll need them." Diane walked away, heels clicking. "Don't engage with her," Gregory warned. "She's baiting you." The courtroom doors opened. A bailiff called, "Owens versus Child Protective Services. All parties please enter." Samuel's heart hammered. They filed in. The courtroom was smaller than Samuel expected from TV. Wood paneling, state seal on the wall, 12 empty jury chairs. This wasn't a jury trial. One person would decide. Samuel sat at the defendant's table. Maya sat in the gallery with the Hendersons. Diane sat at the prosecutor's table, arranging papers with confidence. "All rise." Everyone stood. Judge Eleanor Whitmore entered through the side door. Samuel looked up. The world stopped. It was her. The woman from the highway. The Mercedes. The rain. The blown tire. Eleanor's eyes swept the courtroom, landed on Samuel, and she froze. Her hand trembled on the gavel. She recognized him. For 3 seconds that felt like hours, they stared at each other. Samuel's mind raced. Should I say something? Will she recuse herself? Is this good or bad? Eleanor's face became stone, professional, unreadable. She sat, opened the case file. When she spoke, her voice was steady. This court is now in session in the matter of Owens versus Child Protective Services. Counselors, are both parties ready to proceed? Gregory stood. Ready, Your Honor. Diane stood. Ready, Your Honor. Eleanor's eyes flicked to Samuel once more, then away. Let's begin. Diane Crawford rose, buttoning her suit jacket. Your Honor, the state will demonstrate that while Mr. Samuel Owens loves his daughter, and we don't dispute his love, love alone does not constitute adequate parenting. The child's best interest requires stability, security, and safety that Mr. Owens cannot provide. She clicked a remote. A screen descended. PowerPoint slides. Slide 1. Samuel's employment history. Mr. Owens currently works 3 jobs: warehouse laborer, delivery driver, and custodian. Total weekly hours, 85. Your Honor, that's 85 hours when he would be unavailable to supervise an 8-year-old child. Gregory objected. Working hard to provide is not a character flaw. It's a logistics problem, Diane countered. Who supervises Maya while Mr. Owens works midnight to 1 a.m.? Slide 2. Financial analysis. Mr. Owens' combined income, $200 monthly, rent, $1,100, utilities, $200, food, $400, transportation, $300. That leaves approximately $200 for everything else. Clothing, medical expenses, emergencies, no savings, no safety net. One car repair or medical bill, and he can't pay rent. She let that sink in. Slide 3. Housing conditions. Photos of Samuel's apartment building appeared. Graffiti on the outer walls, broken security door, dimly lit hallways. This is where Mr. Owens proposes to raise a child. The building has documented incidents of break-ins and drug activity in adjacent units. Objection, Gregory said. Mr. Owens's apartment interior is clean and safe. The exterior is the environment a child walks through every day, Diane finished. Compare that to the Henderson home. New slide, 4-bedroom house, green lawn, swing set. Stable, safe, secure. Slide 4. Psychiatric history. Samuel's stomach dropped. 16 months ago, Mr. Owens was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. His psychiatrist noted feelings of hopelessness and questioned ability to continue. That's in his medical record. During acute grief after his wife's death, Gregory objected. He's completed therapy. Therapy doesn't erase risk factors, Diane said. The state's concern is simple. What happens during the next crisis? Because there will be another crisis. Life guarantees that. And when it comes, will Maya pay the price for her father's instability? She sat down. The state recommends terminating parental rights and approving the Henderson adoption petition. The words hit Samuel like bullets. Terminating parental rights. Forever. Eleanor's face remained neutral. Mr. Taylor, your opening? Gregory stood. Your Honor, the state has presented a narrative of risk based on worst-case scenarios, but here are the facts. Mr. Samuel Owens has met every single requirement imposed by this court. 6 months of perfect attendance at supervised visitations, completed parenting classes with commendation, completed grief counseling, maintains stable housing with 6 months of on-time rent payments, has 3 sources of income, not 0. He placed documents on the clerk's table. Mr. Owens is not asking this court to overlook his past. He's asking this court to recognize his transformation. He's asking for the opportunity to be the father he's proven he can be. Eleanor reviewed the documents. Mr. Taylor, I'll hear testimony. Call your first witness. The defense calls Samuel Owens. Samuel's legs felt weak as he approached the witness stand. The bailiff swore him in. His hand shook on the Bible. Eleanor watched him with unreadable eyes. Did she remember? Did it matter? Gregory began gently. Mr. Owens, tell the court about your current employment. Samuel's voice came out rough. I work 3 jobs. Warehouse, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Delivery driving 3 to 8. Custodian on weekends. Why 3 jobs? To provide for Maya. To show I can support her. If you regain custody, how would you manage childcare during work hours? I've already arranged it. Grandma Rose, my late wife's mother, has agreed to watch Maya after school until I'm home. I'd adjust to 2 jobs, keep the warehouse, and switch delivery to weekends when Maya's with her grandmother. Diane stood. Objection. This is speculation. He hasn't actually done this. Because he hasn't had custody to do it, Gregory responded. Eleanor intervened. I'll allow the testimony. Continue, Mr. Owens. Your Honor, I know my past. I know I fell apart after Sarah died, that's the truth. But I've spent 6 months rebuilding, not just for this hearing, for Maya, because she deserves a father who fights for her. Gregory nodded. Have you missed any visitations in the past 6 months? No, sir. Any parenting class sessions? No, sir. Any therapy appointments? No, sir. Why not? Samuel looked directly at Eleanor. Because Maya is my reason for breathing. I won't fail her again. Cross-examination. Diane approached like a predator. Mr. Owens, you said you won't fail her again. But you already did fail her, didn't you? Yes. You failed her so badly that Child Protective Services had to remove her from your care. Yes. And you showed up to work intoxicated during that time, correct? Samuel's jaw clenched. Once, during my grief, I made a terrible mistake. A mistake that got you fired. Yes. Mr. Owens, you work 85 hours a week. When do you sleep? I manage. How many hours per night? 4, maybe 5. And you think that's sustainable? How long before exhaustion leads to another terrible mistake? Gregory objected. Speculation. I'll rephrase, Diane said. Mr. Owens, what happens if you lose one of these jobs? I'll find another. What if you get sick and can't work? I haven't been sick. What if Maya gets sick and needs full-time care? Grandma Rose, who is 65 years old with arthritis, Diane cut in. Your backup plan is an elderly woman with limited mobility. That's your child care solution? Samuel's hands gripped the chair. Stay calm. Don't react. Mr. Owens, do you love your daughter? More than anything. But love isn't enough, is it? Love doesn't pay rent when you lose a job. Love doesn't provide stability when you're working midnight shifts. Love doesn't erase the fact that you already proved once that you can't handle crisis. Objection! Gregory was on his feet. Counsel is testifying, not questioning. Sustained, Eleanor said. Ms. Crawford, ask questions. Diane smiled. No further questions, Your Honor. Samuel returned to his seat, shaking. Eleanor spoke. Mr. Owens, I have a question. Samuel looked up. Tell me about a time recently when you demonstrated good judgment under pressure. Not a prepared answer. A real moment. Samuel thought. He could mention the highway, helping her, but that felt like manipulation. Instead, last month Maya got sick during a visit. Fever of 103. The social worker was running late. I could have panicked, but I stayed calm, got her to urgent care. Followed every protocol, contacted CPS immediately, documented everything. Maya was fine, but in that moment, I wasn't thinking about this case. I was just being her father. Eleanor made a note. Thank you, Mr. Owens. Did her expression soften? Samuel couldn't tell. Diane objected. Irrelevant, Your Honor. Eleanor's voice was firm. Overruled. Character is always relevant in family court. For the first time, Samuel felt a flicker of hope. Day 2. Character witnesses. Gregory called Rose Bennett first. Sarah's mother walked to the stand with the dignity of a woman who'd buried her daughter but refused to break. 70 years old, Sunday church hat, hands folded. Mrs. Bennett, how would you describe Samuel's transformation over the past 6 months? Rose looked directly at Eleanor. Judge, I watched that boy fall into darkness after we lost Sarah. I don't blame him. My daughter was his whole world. But 6 months ago, I told him Sarah didn't raise a quitter. He's a fiend. And something woke up in him. He became the man my daughter always knew he could be. Would you trust him with Maya's care? I already do. Every supervised visit, I see the father he is. Patient, loving, present. That's my grandbaby's daddy. Patricia Hendricks testified next. In 15 years as a social worker, I have never seen a parent work harder to meet requirements. Mr. Owens attended every session, completed every task, showed up early to every visit. His interaction with Maya is exemplary. Diane cross-examined. But you still recommended supervision continue, didn't you? That's protocol, not concern. So you have concerns. I have protocol to follow, Patricia said firmly. Mrs. Sullivan, Samuel's warehouse supervisor, testified last. Most reliable employee I have, never late, never complains, works harder than men half his age. When I asked why, he showed me a picture of his little girl, said, "She's my reason." That's who Samuel Owens is. By end of day 2, the testimony was powerful. Even Diane looked concerned. Eleanor addressed the court. I've heard compelling testimony from both sides. I'm inclined to grant Mr. Owens a transition plan, increasing custody gradually over 6 months, with final decision pending successful completion. Samuel's heart soared. Maya grinned from the gallery. But Eleanor continued. However, I'll hear closing arguments tomorrow. The state may present any final evidence before I rule. Diane stood. Your Honor, the state requests 1 more day to present additional evidence. Eleanor nodded. Granted. We reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. As the courtroom cleared, Samuel felt hope mixing with dread. What evidence could Diane possibly have left? Day 3. The ambush. Diane Crawford entered the courtroom carrying a new folder. Her smile was predatory. Your Honor, the state presents additional evidence that directly impacts this court's assessment of Mr. Owens's fitness as a parent. She clicked the remote. New slides appeared. Exhibit A, Neighborhood Crime Statistics. Mr. Owens' apartment is located in a census tract with crime rates 43% above the city average. In the past year alone, 12 assaults, 6 break-ins, 3 drug arrests, all within a 2-block radius of where he proposes to raise Maya. Samuel's lawyer objected. Your Honor, Mr. Owens doesn't control neighborhood crime rates. But he controls where he chooses to live, Diane interrupted. He had 6 months to find safer housing. He chose not to. Because safer neighborhoods cost more rent, Gregory countered. Exactly, Diane said. Which brings us to Exhibit B. Exhibit B, Financial Forensics. A spreadsheet appeared. Every dollar Samuel earned and spent for 6 months. Mr. Owens's income covers basic expenses with an average monthly surplus of $187. Not $200 as the defense claimed. $187 after we account for actual spending patterns. 1 car repair last month cost $340. He had to borrow from his mother-in-law to cover the deficit. Rose Bennett's face tightened in the gallery. That loan had been private. Your Honor, this proves exactly what the state has argued. Mr. Owens is 1 crisis away from financial collapse. And when that collapse comes, who suffers? Maya. Gregory stood. My client works 85 hours a week to provide, which brings us to Exhibit C. Exhibit C. Medical records. Samuel's blood went cold. Mr. Owens's medical records from 16 months ago show not just depression, but a psychiatric evaluation noting passive suicidal ideation, feelings of worthlessness, and... Diane paused for effect. Substance use as coping mechanism. The courtroom went silent. Mr. Owens, you told this court you showed up to work intoxicated once. But according to your former employer's termination report, you were warned twice before being fired. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. Samuel gripped the table. His vision tunneled. Gregory objected loudly. This was during acute grief 18 months ago, after the traumatic loss of... Grief doesn't excuse endangering a child, Diane snapped. And it doesn't erase the fact that Mr. Owens has demonstrated under pressure a tendency towards substance abuse and poor judgment. What happens the next time he's under pressure? Because parenting an 8-year-old is constant pressure. Eleanor's expression was unreadable. Ms. Crawford, do you have additional witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Thomas Reed. A man in his 50s entered, balding, uncomfortable in his suit. Samuel recognized him immediately, his former supervisor, the man who'd fired him. Diane wasted no time. Mr. Reed, you were Samuel Owens' supervisor 18 months ago, correct? Yes. And you terminated his employment? Yes. Why? Reed shifted. He showed up to work intoxicated. Slurred speech, smelled like alcohol. I sent him home. Had you warned him before? Twice. Once for being late, once for erratic behavior. Did Mr. Owens tell you he was dealing with grief? Yes. I gave him time off, but he came back worse. Diane turned to the judge. Your Honor, this testimony establishes a pattern of instability under crisis. The question before this court is simple. Can we trust that Mr. Owens won't revert to these behaviors when the next crisis occurs? Gregory cross-examined, but the damage was done. Eleanor's turn. Mr. Owens, please approach the bench. Samuel stood. His legs barely held him. Eleanor looked at him directly for the first time since the hearing began. Her eyes were searching, conflicted. Mr. Owens, I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you believe you're ready to be a full-time parent? Samuel's voice cracked. Yes, Your Honor. Why should I believe that when the evidence suggests otherwise? Because... Samuel's eyes filled. Because Maya is the reason I'm still alive. When they took her, I wanted to die. But then I realized, if I gave up, she'd think she wasn't worth fighting for. She'd think I didn't love her enough, so I fought. I'm still fighting. I'll fight until my last breath. Fighting isn't the same as being capable. I know. That's why I did everything. The classes, the therapy, the jobs, everything. Not to check boxes, to become the father she deserves. Eleanor leaned back. Her face was stone. This court will recess while I review all evidence. Closing arguments tomorrow at 9 a.m. I will render my decision at that time. She stood. Everyone rose. As Eleanor exited, she glanced at Samuel once more. He couldn't read her expression. Hallway. 5 minutes later. Maya ran to Samuel, crying, "Daddy, what's happening?" Samuel knelt, holding her. "It's okay, baby. They're saying you can't take care of me. That's not true. You're the best daddy." Linda Henderson gently pulled Maya back. "Sweetie, let's give your dad some space." "No, I want my daddy!" Samuel's heart shattered. "Maya, baby, listen to me. No matter what happens, I love you. You hear me? This is not about you. You are perfect. You are loved. Okay?" Maya sobbed into his shoulder. Patricia separated them gently. "Samuel, I'm sorry. We have to go." As they walked away, Maya screamed, "Daddy, don't let them take me again!" Samuel stood in the empty hallway, destroyed. Gregory approached. "We're not done. Tomorrow I'll argue." "We both know what's coming," Samuel said quietly. "She's going to rule against me." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. I saw her face." That night. Eleanor Whitmore sat in her home office, case file open, wine untouched. She'd reviewed the evidence 3 times. The data was clear. High-risk father, vulnerable child, stable alternative placement available. The law was clear. Best interest of the child. Her duty was clear. Protect Maya, even from a father who loved her. But she kept seeing Samuel's face in the rain, the way he'd helped without hesitation, without expectation, without knowing who she was. Character. Real character. The kind shown when no one's watching. Did that moment matter against psychiatric evaluations and financial analyses? She didn't know. And tomorrow she'd have to decide anyway. Eleanor couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m. she sat in her study, the Owens file spread before her. Something nagged at her. Diane's evidence focused entirely on risk factors, statistics, worst-case scenarios. But what about the actual reality of Samuel's parenting during 6 months of supervised visits? She opened her laptop and began searching. Patricia Hendricks's full reports. Eleanor requested them from the court database. Not just the summaries Diane had presented, but every detailed observation. Visit number 1. Father arrived 15 minutes early, brought healthy lunch prepared from home, engaged child in educational activities. Interaction warm, appropriate. Visit number 8. Child asked why she couldn't go home. Father became emotional but maintained composure. Explained situation in age-appropriate terms. Reassured child of his love. Visit number 24. Most recent visit. Father and child completed homework together. Father demonstrated patience when child struggled with math. Used positive reinforcement. 0 concerns noted. 24 visits. 24 perfect reports. Eleanor leaned back. These weren't the reports of a man barely capable of parenting. These were the reports of an engaged, loving, competent father. What was she missing? At 6 a.m., Eleanor did something she'd never done in 20 years on the bench. She decided to investigate personally. Samuel's apartment building. 7:30 a.m. Eleanor wore civilian clothes, jeans, plain jacket, no jewelry. She needed to see the truth without the filter of attorneys and presentations. The building's exterior was as rough as the photos suggested. Graffiti, broken interlock. But inside Samuel's unit, she could see through the window as a maintenance worker opened the door. It was immaculate. Clean floors, organized shelves. Maya's room visible through an open door, perfectly made bed, educational posters, stuffed animals arranged by size. An elderly man approached her in the hallway. "You looking for someone?" "I'm considering renting here. What's it like?" Andrew Wilson, 73, leaned on his cane. "Rough neighborhood, but good people in this building. See that unit? That's Samuel's place. Best neighbor I got. Helps me carry groceries every week. Fixed my sink last month. Checks on everyone. That man's a saint. He has a daughter, right? Maya, sweetest kid. Breaks my heart she can't live with her daddy. System's cruel sometimes." Eleanor thanked him and left. Community Center, 9 o'clock a.m. Eleanor requested security footage from supervised visits, public record, available with a judge's authorization. She watched 6 months of visits, fast-forwarding through hours. Samuel arriving early every time, bringing lunch in Tupperware, playing with Maya, helping with homework, reading to her, making her laugh. The body language of a father completely present, completely devoted. In one clip, Maya started crying, missing her mother. Samuel held her, rocked her, sang softly, stayed strong for her, even though Eleanor could see tears in his eyes. This was not performance. This was love. Samuel's workplaces. Throughout the day, Eleanor visited all 3 jobs, posing as a workplace safety inspector. At the warehouse, co-workers spoke highly of Samuel. "Never complains, works twice as hard as the rest of us, always talking about his little girl." At the delivery company, the dispatcher said, "Most reliable driver we have, takes the worst routes because they pay more. Saving for his daughter's college fund, he says." At the custodian job, the building manager showed Eleanor Samuel's work area. Cleanest floors in the city. Pride in his work. That's rare. Coffee shop, 2 o'clock p.m. Eleanor found Patricia Hendricks off duty. "Ms. Hendricks, I need the truth. Off the record. Is Maya safe with her father?" Patricia hesitated. "Judge, I can't. I'm not asking as a judge. I'm asking as someone who's about to make a decision that will affect a child's entire life. I need to know if I'm missing something." Patricia sighed. "Maya loves him. He's never been anything but gentle, present, loving. Every metric we use says he's an excellent father. But the system doesn't measure love. It measures risk. Statistically, he's high risk." "But actually?" "Actually?" Patricia met Eleanor's eyes. "Actually, I think Maya belongs with her father, but I can't say that officially." Eleanor nodded slowly. That evening, Eleanor returned home with clarity she hadn't had in days. The data said one thing. The reality said another. Diane had built a case on statistics and worst-case scenarios, but Samuel had built a life on action and transformation. The question wasn't whether Samuel had been broken. The question was whether he'd truly healed. Eleanor thought of the rain, the highway, the stranger who'd stopped when everyone else kept driving. That was character. The kind of character you couldn't fake, couldn't perform, couldn't manufacture for a court. She opened her laptop and began drafting her ruling. Day 4. Final arguments. The courtroom was packed. News had spread, local reporters in the back row, community members filling the gallery. Samuel's case had become more than a custody hearing. It had become a referendum on whether the system could see beyond statistics. Diane Crawford stood. Your Honor, the state's position is unchanged. Mr. Owens is a sympathetic figure, but sympathy doesn't protect children. The evidence shows financial instability, environmental risk factors, and a documented history of crisis mismanagement. The child's best interest requires a stable two-parent home that the Hendersons can provide. She sat down, confident. Gregory Taylor rose. Your Honor, this case asks a fundamental question. Does the law allow for redemption? Mr. Owens fell. He's not denying that, but he got back up. He transformed himself. 6 months of perfect compliance, 24 perfect visitation reports, 3 jobs, therapy, classes. Everything this court asked, he delivered. If that's not enough, then we're telling every struggling parent in this city, don't bother trying. The system has already decided you'll fail. Before Eleanor could respond, her clerk approached the bench. Your Honor, there's an emergency motion. Eleanor frowned. From whom? From you, Your Honor. You've requested to interview the child in chambers. Diane objected immediately. Your Honor, that's highly irregular. It's within my discretion, Eleanor said. I'll see Maya Owens in my chambers, alone with a child psychologist present. 10-minute recess. Judge's chambers. Maya sat in an oversized leather chair, feet dangling. Dr. Sarah Morrison, child psychologist, sat nearby. Eleanor knelt to Maya's eye level. Hi, Maya. I'm Judge Whitmore. You're not in trouble, okay? I just want to talk. Okay. Maya, do you know why you're here? Because of Daddy. Because they're deciding if I can go home. That's right. Can I ask you some questions? You can tell me the truth. No one will be upset. Maya nodded. Do you feel safe with your daddy? Yes. Has he ever hurt you or scared you? Never. Daddy's sad sometimes about Mommy, but he always hugs me and says it'll be okay. Do you want to live with him? Maya's eyes filled with tears. He's my daddy. I miss him every single day. The Hendersons are nice, but they're not my family. Daddy is my family. Eleanor's heart clenched. What if I told you your daddy's apartment is small and the neighborhood isn't the safest? I don't care about big houses or safe neighborhoods. I care about my daddy. He worked so hard for me. He never gave up even when I thought he would. That's what matters. Out of the mouths of babes. Eleanor stood. Thank you, Maya. You're very brave. Back in the courtroom. Eleanor entered, carrying a thick folder. Her face was unreadable. This court has reviewed all evidence, testimony, and reports. I've also conducted an independent assessment of the circumstances surrounding this case. Samuel's hands trembled. The state presented compelling evidence of risk factors. Mr. Owens's financial situation is precarious. His housing is in a high-crime area. His mental health history raises legitimate concerns. By every statistical measure, he represents risk. Samuel closed his eyes. This was it. He'd lost. However, Samuel looked up. The law doesn't ask me to judge statistics, it asks me to judge reality. And reality is this. I have reviewed every visitation report filed by Ms. Patricia Hendricks over 6 months, 24 visits, 24 reports of exemplary parenting, not adequate, exemplary. Eleanor's voice grew stronger. I have interviewed Maya herself, an 8-year-old child who spoke with clarity and love about her father, who doesn't care about house size or neighborhood safety ratings, who cares about being with the parent who never gave up on her. Diane started to rise. Eleanor raised a hand. I have also personally investigated Mr. Owens's living situation, work environments, and community reputation. What I found was a man who works 85 hours a week, not out of desperation, but out of dedication. A man who helps elderly neighbors. A man who maintains his home immaculately despite poverty. A man who has transformed himself completely. Eleanor looked directly at Samuel. The state argues that love isn't enough. They're correct. But love combined with action, with sacrifice, with unwavering commitment, that is enough. She opened her folder. I had an experience recently that reminded me of something important. Character isn't shown in what people do when they're being watched. It's shown in what they do when they think no one will ever know. Samuel's eyes widened. She remembered. Eleanor continued. A few nights ago, I was stranded on a highway in a dangerous area. My car broke down, my phone was dead. I was terrified. Dozens of cars passed me by. But one man stopped. He helped me without hesitation. He refused payment. He asked for nothing in return. He simply helped because someone needed help. The courtroom was silent. That man was Samuel Owens. Gasps filled the room. Diane's face went white. I didn't recognize him when I walked into this courtroom. But when I did, I faced a dilemma. Should I recuse myself? Would my knowledge of his character bias my judgment? Eleanor's voice became firm. I decided not to recuse myself because I realized that moment of character wasn't an anomaly. It was confirmation of everything the evidence was already showing me. Mr. Owens doesn't perform goodness. He lives it. She looked at Diane. The state built a case on fear of what might go wrong. But the law doesn't ask me to rule based on fear. It asks me to rule based on evidence. And the evidence shows a father who has proven, beyond any reasonable doubt, that he is capable, committed, and worthy. Eleanor's gavel was in her hand. The law measures eligibility. Character measures worth. Mr. Samuel Owens has proven both. She struck the gavel. This court grants full custody to the father, effective immediately, with 6-month follow-up reviews to ensure continued stability. The Henderson adoption petition is denied. Maya Owens will return to her father's care tonight. The courtroom erupted. Samuel collapsed forward, sobbing. Gregory grabbed his shoulder. Maya screamed, "Daddy!" and ran from the gallery, breaking past the bailiff. Samuel caught her, lifting her into his arms, both of them crying. "I'm taking you home, baby. We're going home." Eleanor watched, tears in her eyes despite herself. Diane Crawford gathered her papers in silence, defeated. As the courtroom cleared, Eleanor approached Samuel privately. "Judge Whitmore, Samuel could barely speak. "You changed my tire," Eleanor said quietly. "You didn't know who I was. You didn't want anything in return. You just helped because someone needed help. That told me more about your character than any testimony could." "I didn't do it to—" "I know. That's exactly why it mattered." She handed him a photo she'd taken during her investigation. Samuel and Maya during a supervised visit, laughing together. "For your wall." Samuel took it with shaking hands. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being worth seeing." 2 weeks later, Samuel and Maya stood in front of their new apartment, still 1 bedroom but in a safer neighborhood. He'd gotten a raise at the warehouse after the publicity from the case, cut down to 2 jobs, more time with Maya, Rose Bennett helped them carry boxes. Patricia Hendricks stopped by with a housewarming gift. Even Gregory Taylor came, bringing pizza. Maya ran through the apartment, claiming her space. "Daddy, can I paint my room purple?" "Whatever color you want, baby." That night, after everyone left, Samuel tucked Maya into bed in her new room. Purple paint samples were taped to the wall. Stuffed animals lined the shelves. Her drawings covered every surface. "Daddy? Yeah, baby? Are you happy?" Samuel's throat tightened. "I'm the happiest man alive." "Me too." Maya hugged her stuffed bear. "I knew you'd never give up." "Never, baby girl. Never." He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. 6 months later, courthouse. Samuel returned for the mandatory 6-month review. Eleanor presiding. Patricia's report was glowing. Maya is thriving. Home environment is stable. Father-daughter bond is stronger than ever. Academic performance has improved. No concerns whatsoever. I recommend terminating court supervision and closing this case. Eleanor smiled, a rare sight in her courtroom. "Mr. Owens, you've exceeded every expectation. This court officially closes its supervision. You're free to just be a father now." Samuel stood. "Your Honor, I want to say, no need," Eleanor said. "You've already said everything that matters. By how you live." Outside, Samuel lifted Maya onto his shoulders. They walked to his car. Same old Honda, but it ran. "Where we going, Daddy?" "Ice cream, because we're celebrating." "Celebrating what?" "Freedom, baby. We're finally free." 1 year later. Samuel stood at Sarah's grave, Maya beside him. They placed fresh flowers, daisies, Sarah's favorite. "I told Mommy about everything," Maya said. "About the court, about the judge, about coming home." "What did you tell her?" "That you never gave up, just like she wouldn't want you to." Samuel knelt beside his daughter. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think Mommy sent that judge to us, that rainy night. She knew we needed someone to see us for who we really are." Maya considered this. "Maybe. Mommy always helped people." They stood together, holding hands, then walked back to the car. As they drove away, Samuel glanced at the photo on his dashboard, the one Eleanor had given him. Him and Maya, laughing. His phone buzzed. Text from Rose. "Dinner Sunday? Bring my grandbaby." Samuel smiled. He had a family. He had his daughter. He had his life back. All because one rainy night he'd stopped to help a stranger, and she'd remembered. 5 years later. Samuel Owens, 43, watched his daughter Maya graduate middle school with honors. She wore a purple dress, her favorite color. Her essay, "My Hero, My Dad," had won a district-wide competition. In the audience, Rose Bennett, now 70, still sharp. Patricia Hendricks, retired but present. Gregory Taylor, now in private practice. And in the back row, Judge Eleanor Whitmore, who never missed Maya's milestones. After the ceremony, Maya ran to Samuel. "Daddy, did you see? I got the Academic Achievement Award." "I'm so proud of you, baby." Maya hugged him, then ran to hug Eleanor. "Judge Whitmore, you came." "Wouldn't miss it for the world, sweetheart." Samuel approached Eleanor. "Thank you for everything." "Thank you for proving that character counts," Eleanor said. She'd kept that photo on her desk for 5 years. The rainy highway, the changed tire, the moment that reminded her why she became a judge. That night, Samuel and Maya drove home. They passed a stranded car on the highway. Young woman, flat tire, phone dead. "Daddy, someone needs help." Samuel pulled over. "Come on, Maya, let's show you how it's done." Together, they helped the stranger. As they drove away, Maya asked, Why do we always stop? Samuel smiled. Because someone stopped for us once, and that changed everything. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about kindness, justice, and second chances. Drop a comment telling us about a time someone's kindness changed your life. We read every single one.